need to go start selling generators as your add-on. Focus on your core, what you're good at. Generators is a section of the business. A little bit different here. This is not a section of the business. This should be involved in every single service call. Dynamic and Novo sponsored our cocktail hour last night, and for that, how many of you guys were grateful for that? Show them some love. Dynamic Air Quality Solutions and Novo Water Solutions. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. So, I'm going to go through a couple of bios for Steve and Casey over here, and my voice is shaking a little bit. I'm behind a computer screen every day, and I'm really comfortable with that. So being on stage, I'm not, so we're breaking barriers over here again, so hopefully we do all right at this. So, got a couple of bios I'm just going to read off to introduce these guys. Casey Holcomb. So Casey's the Director of Business Development for National Accounts for Cantor Water Group, an industry-leading OEM manufacturer of high-efficiency residential and commercial water conditioning products. The Novo product line is sold exclusively to plumbing and HVAC service contractors for the wholesale distribution. Casey is experienced along with the Novo team, along with the Novo Pro Advantage program, provides service contractors with the professional-grade products, training on-site and online, and support necessary to successfully grow the business and increase average daily profits. So I think that can help a lot of you folks out there. Steve Morse, a guy I've known actually for quite a long time. Steve Morse introduced me to this industry close to 15 years ago now for heating and cooling contractors. He is a mentor for me. He is my boss, but he's also one of my best friends. So I love having you. So Steve has been in the industry for over 30 years. He has experience in creating and conducting technical and communication indoor air quality training for HVAC technicians and sales consultants. In 1990, a while ago there, brother, he started Premier Environmental Technologies, which brought the 24-volt polarized media air cleaner to the U.S. market, and he was on the first design team that developed the first UV systems for residential application. Steve is currently Vice President of Training and Sales for Dynamic Air Quality Solutions. During the 7 years prior to joining Dynamic Air Quality Solutions, Steve served with Clockwork Home Services as VP of Nature's Home Indoor Air Quality Division, where he started and directed the company's IAQ product and training initiatives, then was promoted to President of Clockwork's Biomass Strategic Partner Division before joining Dynamic in 2009. So, in hearing that, it's a lot of stuff to kind of read through in a very short amount of time, but what I hear is these guys have a lot of experience. They are the industry gurus and leaders when it comes to water quality, when it comes to indoor air quality. And that's going to kind of segue into something that Chris mentioned about products themselves. I was sitting over here yesterday and I had a chance to speak with a few of you in the room, and came over and asked a great question. And the question was almost the same from the few folks that I did speak with, which was, how does your product compare to brand X? It's a great question. Obviously, if we're going to talk about products with homeowners, we want to make sure that those products are going to work and they're going to do the best job for whatever we want them to do for that particular homeowner. That's what to do. But I think a better question, to me that one's a little bit short-sighted in some ways. I think maybe a better question to ask yourself when you come over and talk to a vendor, whether it be Steven over there, whether it be Alfred Works team out there, is how can you help my company? Not just how does your product compare, but what can you do for my company? How are you going to help me get to my goals? Where do you want to go with your company? How are you going to help me hit my revenue numbers? How are you going to help me help my homeowners? How are you going to help me help my technicians and employees maybe meet some of their the goals that they have in life, some of their earning potential that's out there? You know, these are questions that are going to help you win the war, which was talked about yesterday, not just the short-sighted battle on one thing in particular. So that's what these guys are going to share with us. It's really a whole program with what they can do to help your companies, not just a product, but what they can do for your entire team. So with that, we're going to call this the air and the water show. That's what these guys are, what they like. So, guys, I did poll a few folks yesterday, and we talked about some things on kind of the definition of what makes a healthy home. So I'm going to go over some of the answers that people shared with me yesterday on what a healthy home was. See if you guys agree with me on this, and then I'll open it up to see if you have some thoughts on that. But a healthy home, I got terms like clean, comfortable air, free of dust and contaminants. Pretty good definition of that. A healthy home is a space with perfect temperature, humidity, air, and water quality with a clean smell. Sound all right? Sounds pretty good. Clean air, clean water, safe environment for you and your family, home or business. A healthy home is a clean environment that promotes good health to the family. A happy, healthy, fun, and energy-efficient home. And then over and over again, clean air and pure water. But I'd like to ask a few folks out there, what is your definition of a healthy home? Anybody have any thoughts that you'd like to share?
There's prizes involved.
Not everybody at once. Somebody just shout it out. Definition of a healthy home. What does that mean to you? Safe space? Good answer.
Somewhere that's comfortable. Somewhere that's comfortable.
Somewhere that's comfortable.
Clean air.
Clean air.
No contaminants.
No contaminants.
Having the peace of mind that everything's working right.
Peace of mind. Let that settle in for a minute. Right? Being able to go home and know that you have peace of mind that the water that you're drinking is going to be healthy for you and your family. That the air that you're breathing is going to be healthy for you and your family. That the air is being treated to keep your heating and cooling system cleaner. Right? Is a cleaner heating and cooling system a more efficient heating and cooling system? People forget that with indoor air quality. We think about the health side of it, but what does it mean for the heating and cooling system? We talked about a respiratory system in our health, but what about the heating and cooling system? Is a clean heating and cooling system not only going to be more efficient, but is it going to last longer? Is it going to have fewer failures? Is it going to be an easier system for your technicians to maintain when they go into the home? Right? Is that going to help their efficiencies while they're out there? Tremendous amount of benefits to that. So I'd like to present that to you guys. What does a clean, healthy home, Casey, why don't we start with you from the water side? What does a clean, healthy home mean to you?
Well, with Novo, our whole philosophy is finish the job, fix the water that broke it. When I got into this industry 12 years ago, Steve Morris was my mentor, getting me into this business as well. I thought that every plumber out there did water quality. I just figured, you guys by default are the water treatment experts. It's an in and out of drain at the end of the day. I realized quickly, and it's changed over the last 12 years, that there's a lot of plumbers out there that are just passing up a huge opportunity. So, Wayne Gretzky missed 100% of the shots you don't take. You guys are invited into the home 3 times a day to fix something that water broke, and you have that opportunity on every call, and that's what our program is about. But as far as the healthy home, it's all about, most homeowners, it's, taste and odor. There millions of dollars are being spent to get the message out that your water sucks, basically. The Britas and the Zero Waters and all that, they're thinking about what they ingest, but what they're not thinking about is the showers they're taking, inhaling chlorine in a hot shower, or absorbing it through the skin, or what it's doing to the plumbing system. So that's where our training, very similar to what Dynamic does, we go in and teach your techs to be comfortable with the product and how to talk about it, how to test water very quickly at the kitchen sink, and give them the homeowner the results. For them, there's a number of benefits, but most of it's taste and odor, which the air guys always tell us that the water guys got it easy because indoor air quality, you don't have that. You don't have the taste, the odor, the stain. That's all evidence. You guys are like CSI investigators in the home. You gather the evidence and present to the homeowner. That's a long-winded answer, but for us, we call it a total home protection system. It's all about the working water and the drinking water. We have carbon filtration, water softeners, UV technology like we use for indoor air quality for pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and reverse osmosis. We package that into what we call our total home protection system.
Awesome. Steve, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's your definition of a healthy home?
First of all, I'd like to say, John, I'm surprised how comfortable you are in front of these people. Telling us that you're not.
You're still saying about that bit.
Looking for your job.
I have to promote it. So I'll be on for us, we look at indoor air quality. There's 3 phases of contamination we always talk about. And you look at products out there, they usually address one of the 3, maybe a couple of them. They don't look at our whole program. So there's particles, germs, and gases in the air. You need to address all 3. And what Casey was saying about protection packages, that's what we talk about when we train your techs as well, is not only how do we protect, when people think of indoor air quality, especially now they think of the, the COVID virus, and that's do a whole class just on that. But what people are thinking of is asthma and allergy relief, right? But we're not doctors. We used to teach in the old days, when I was a clockwork, when you're at the thermostat, you ask the question, who in your house suffers some asthma and allergies? And homeowners are like, fix my damn furnace, but where'd that come from? There is a time when you're gonna ask that question. And there's a sequence of events that have to happen during the call to get to that question. So, but for a clean home atmosphere, you get all three phases of contamination out. Now, if you're taking the particles out of the air, one thing interesting about the virus is the way it gets from that side of the room to that side of the room. It doesn't have wings, it doesn't have feet, it's actually not even alive. It doesn't have a heart, it doesn't have lungs, it's a blob of protein. And the way it travels is with dust. So the more dust you get out of the air, the less it can travel. Doesn't mean it's not going to be there at all, but that's even though it's not killing it, it's a way of controlling it. UV will kill it if you have the right power and the right microwatts, we call it. So that's on the germ side. One of the questions we got asked really early on in COVID was, does your lamp kill the COVID virus? We've been talking about killing viruses since 1992. This is not something new. Viruses are easy to kill, but you got to get it there. And once it's there, you got to have enough power to do it. So that's the second thing is you got to get germs out of the air. Now, Casey mentioned that the odor's not a big deal in this case. People are concerned about maybe not the odors, but the off-gassing. There's off-gassing from carpets, paints, and stains that you probably can't smell. That all three phases of contamination that we deal with to get a healthy home, that's the one we talk about the least, and it's the one that's the most dangerous. And it's in everybody's home. EPA says the indoor is 2 to 5 times more polluted than the outside air. How many air cleaners did EPA sell last year? 0. They didn't make that statement so they could sell product. They didn't test and said, holy crap, it's bad in here. So that's residential. It gets even worse on the commercial. They said it could be up to 100 times worse. So to create a clean home atmosphere, you gotta make sure you have the right product that is designed, not only that it works, we talk about science and logic. Scientifically it has to work. There's a bunch of science out there now. There's GCO, ionization. I mean, we can go through all that stuff, but a lot of the testing is done in a 1 cubic foot test lab. You put it next to a petri dish 1 inch away, it took 30 minutes to kill the virus. When it's coming through an air handler, you got 0.7 seconds. That's all you got. It's not going to sit there in front of the UV light or anionizer or anything. So you got to make sure you have enough power to get that done. So the 3 things that we control with our products is all 3. The particles, germs, and gases. We train technicians on how to explain that to a homeowner without being real technical. You know, we do a lot of technical training. But if you get too technical with a homeowner, for the most part, you're gonna lose them. So how about just asking some simple questions? Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to better filter to stop this from happening in the future? That has nothing to do with microwatts or nanometers or wavelengths. It's layman's terms explanation of homeowners. So, but you have to be able to explain all 3 phases of contamination without really getting technical with them.
It's funny when you talk about odors, I'm from Florida, we're a little slow down here, that's why they call it Florida, right? So one of the things that I finally realized is you can't go into a grocery store anywhere in the country, can you, where there's not an aisle dedicated to Febreze, Glade plugins, Lysol, scented candles, essential oils, incense. Ladies, why do we use these products? Make our homes smell better. I guess that every grocery store in the country has an aisle dedicated to those products. Are people worried about how their homes smell? Is there an opportunity? Right? Something to talk about while we're out there. So all great definitions of a clean, healthy home. Some of the things that we have out there. But Steve, I want to pose this to you first. What should contractors be doing to help promote a healthy home, and the solutions, and what are the solutions available to address that?
Well, we get asked the question a lot as recently as I showed us that everybody's looking for a magic ad. I want to run an IAQ ad. What's everybody doing? What's their return on investment? How many leads are we going to get from the ad? I got to tell you, we tried it. We tried TV and radio. You can build awareness that way, but your phone is not going to ring off the hook because you got some kind of ad out there. you know, the way we look at it, and we looked at it this way for years, and it really hasn't changed much, is train your technicians on how to communicate on every single call. And I truly mean the way we train, you're gonna, on every call. Casey mentioned, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, but how do you get a technician to talk about? Most of them don't like to sell. They don't want to sell. So, instead of spending money on ad, you guys have already spent a lot of money. You look at your budget, you know what it costs to get your technician in the door. He's already in the door. How do we capitalize on that call? So if you've already paid, the door's already open. If you do it correctly, you get spend zero marketing dollars to get in the door call. You just need to have your technicians to understand the product, feel comfortable with it. That's the number one. They got to understand the technology. We have John McMahon here does a lot of our WebEx training. It's all technical. There's some communication. We have 18 modules online to certify your technicians as in work quality experts. It's all technical. When we're done with all that, we basically tell them, forget about that. You know, that made them comfortable. They get the product. They're not going to talk about it, most of them, unless they're comfortable with the product. So we get them comfortable with the product. Now when you're on the call, how do you transition into air quality? You know, we've had technicians say, I presented it on a few calls and I got a few notes they quit talking about it. Well, how did you present it? See, they got all excited. They ring the doorbell and say, where are you? You like for $1,800? How are you going to sell? What's the UV light? Why is it $1,800? Actually, in fixed revenue share? But there's a time during that call. We call it the anatomy of service call, where there's going to be a sequence of events that happens related to evidence, in case you talk about evidence. Even though we don't have like the tester kit like you have with water, there is evidence that you can show them. Brief example, you can show them the coil with the camera, or stick your head in there and look at it, or pull a blower wheel. If the coil has 1/20th of an inch buildup on it, EPA says you lose 21% of its output. 1/20th of an inch is the thickness of a business card. Those of you that are technicians, have you ever seen how much dust on a coil? Every single day. And sometimes it looks like a dead animal pellet's going to peel off it. We've got pictures of that as well. Blower wheel. Texas A&M says 1/8 of an inch buildup on a blower wheel reduces its output from moving air by 30%. So if the blower wheel is dirty and the coil is dirty, we ask the technicians, what's broken? The filter's broken. You know, don't sell them a filter. If the contactor has a bad reading, what do? You put a contactor in. We ask this question all the time when technicians say, I don't want to sell. Have you put a contactor in the last 3 months? All hands come up. How about a capacity? All hands come up. Was it free? No. They paid for it. They exchanged money. As soon as they exchange money, they just made a sale. Even though they think they're not a sales guy. But they have to look at it as a technical aspect. I've got to fix something, because that's what technicians want to do. So we teach them, like Casey says, the water broke it. Stole that from Casey. We say the air broke it. You know, the air's going in there and it's going to make that system dirty. Oh, by the way, the same stuff we're looking at here can aggregate asthma and allergies. So I was wondering who in your house suffers from asthma and allergies. These are the transitions we talk about during the call to get the homeowner thinking. That's all we need to do is get them homeowner thinking. It doesn't mean that they're going to sell something every call, but if they ask those simple questions, we can actually add only 3 minutes to every service and maintenance call. 3 minutes, and then they'll be talking about indoor air quality. Simply stated without you getting no technical about it.
Right, just informing and educating. All we're doing is just showing and sharing. I think I heard that term before. Show them what's in the system. Talk about what's in the water. Educate them on that. But Casey, from your side, what can plumbers, what can contractors do to help promote a healthy home, and what solutions available on your end?
Well, you said earlier, it's not all about the product, but we have the best product in the industry for that. So we're an OEM manufacturer. Right now, we don't have any supply chain issues, which is very important. We make our own valves, our own tanks. So it is about the plastic, but it's about the training and support. And what we do is we have our Novo Pro Advantage program. And the first training is about 20 minutes of it's novowater.com. It's 20 minutes, 3 videos for your technicians to go on and learn how to bring it up in the home, how to test. For city water, it's very simple. It's chlorine or chloramine and it's hardness. We give them free test kits. once they invest 20 minutes of time to do level 1 training. Level 2 is on-site at the shop. Now that people are open to having us back in, we do a lot of webinars like Don McNutt, but we try to get in and do an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we can get in the morning. We're bringing breakfast sandwiches. We got Mike Dower back in the room. He does the Southeast. We got eight reps all over the country that will support you guys. But it's all about, as Steve said, making the technician comfortable talking about it. It's open-ended questions. We encourage them, they all know why they're dispatched. Let's use the water heater example. Mrs. Smith, I'm with ABC Plumbing. I'm here to take care of that water heater. I'm not surprised you're having problems with it. Water's really aggressive around here. I'm here to help. I'm going to take care of that problem. While I'm here, I'm going to do a free water analysis. Who's going to refuse, right? And like Steve said, we don't want it to take more than 10 minutes. Go to the kitchen sink, test for the hardness, test for the chlorine or chloramine, give them the results. We give them printed material to put the results right on it to leave behind with your business card. And I always say SW, SW, SW. Some will, some won't. So what? You got another call to go on. You're not there. You're the trusted advisor in that home, and while you're there, spend a few minutes talking about the water quality. There is a correlation between the call. We never want the technician to lose the job he's on. That's job one. That's the reason he's in the home. But he's got every opportunity to talk about water, because water did broke it. We give him the solutions to fix it.
I know it breaks it here all the time. We've got a lot of chlorine in our Florida waters. And it smells. So we've got all that. So Casey, what are some of the best practices that contractors can use to get involved with water quality?
Best practices in the home. Well, I just mentioned a lot of them. It's just open-ended questions. Ask them if they're drinking their tap water. Look around for that bottled water that's piled up in the corner. Just a few open-ended questions and quick tests at the kitchen sink, and then document what you tested. The leave behinds that we have are very, very important. You leave it behind, you make your follow-up happy calls. Did my technician talk to you about water quality? Did you test for chlorine or chloramine? For those of you who don't know, a lot of communities started switching over. They're adding ammonia to the chlorine, which makes a chloramine, which is more aggressive on the pumping system. But what we encourage the technician to do is educate the homeowner. They all know about their drinking water, because that's what they're drinking, bottled water, which is purified reverse osmosis water, which we can give you, by the way, pennies compared to what you're buying with bottled water. But it's mostly about hard water. 85% of the U.S. is considered hard water. Water softeners using salt are the only thing that mess up certifications. We're very conservative about what we put out there. There's a before and after test for everything that we build as an OEM manufacturer. I always say if there's a silver bullet out there using magnets or wires or pixie dust, we'd be building it, because it's not proprietary. We don't deal in that. So everything we put out there is vetted. Your customers, it's a professional grade, noble product. You'll never see it online. You'll never see it in a retail environment. It's only sold through our distributor partners. And it's a professional grade product on commercial and residential. We're very strong in problem well water as well as city water, which for you guys out there that are new to water, I encourage you to start with city water. It's just a softer carbon filter. The total home protection would be to add a UV light for protection, because by the time you guys get boil water alerts out there, you've already ingested a lot of contaminated water. So UV is a good protection, and an RO for purified drinking water.
Awesome. Let me ask, for the folks that are doing heating and cooling, does anybody have an idea of what your HVAC revenue, what percentage of that comes from indoor air quality? Anybody want to share a little bit? What's a little bit? 20%, 30%?
Like maybe 5.
Maybe 5. Anybody else? Less than that. Who wants to be at 15 or 20%? Higher than that. There is no reason that a good water quality program or a good indoor air quality program can't be 20, 25, 30% of your business for whatever it is that you do. There's lots of ways of being able to get there. Steve, how do they get there from an indoor air quality standpoint? If you're not doing indoor air quality, or it's only a very small portion of your business, what can a contractor do to build their program up to that percentage?
Well, first of all, it has to become a culture. You have to put it into your culture as a company. A lot of guys will take a product on because some wholesaler came in with some smoke and mirrors and, you know, they took a UV light and put a Harley-Davidson motorcycle muffler over it, it looks like, and they said it's gonna do all 3 phases of contamination. We know it can't, you know, testing proves it can't. So we had to get the tech here again, the technicians comfortable with it. And you have to understand both sides of it, what works, what doesn't work, and I'd love to sit up here and tell you we have the only product that works. We have some great competitors out there, but there's a lot of stuff you guys have to be careful with. There's a lot of lawsuits out there now, class action lawsuits against some of these guys that are out there, because they're using government money to put it in schools. And you start using government money, you see our industries and the work law has been under the radar. COVID's brought it up here. Now people are much more aware of it, the consumers are, so we should be capitalizing on number one, but secondly, you gotta make sure you have the right products that aren't gonna get you in trouble. The numbers that John mentioned, we have accounts 15 to 20% of their businesses in the work wall. And that's added on to what they're already doing. That's at a 60%, 60 to 65% gross profit margin. So if you want to get to those levels, keep repeating ourselves here, we gotta get the technicians comfortable with the technology. Then you have to teach them how to transfer that technical information in layman's terms to the homeowner. That's, the technical part's easy. They get it, they geek out on it. You know, they love it. But now they want to go talk to the homeowner about nanometers and voltages and polarized air cleaners and PCO, and the homeowner has no idea what you're talking about. What they care about is the house is going to smell better. You know, you're going to get the germs and viruses out of the house, and the particles are going to get out of here so we don't have asthma allergy challenges. And we're going to keep the system clean. But one of the things that we start with, and this is kind of a reverse thing that we've done in the last 25 years, is we used to always stress asthma allergies. That was a big thing when we first got going into air quality. Technicians kind of shy away from it. You know, here again, they're not a doctor, so they don't want to go in there and start diagnosing people. But what they are familiar with is a piece of equipment. If you give them those quotes, give them those studies, the EPA says 1/20th of an inch, Texas A&M says 1/8 of an inch. All this stuff is reducing the effectiveness of the equipment, and that's what's causing capacitors to go out. That's what's causing the thing to run more. If it's running 30% more, less efficient, it's going to run 30% longer. You know, so these are things that they can talk to the homeowner about that they're already comfortable with. Once they get to that point, then they can ask the question, who in your house suffers from asthma allergies? By the way, and then questions like Casey mentioned. Not does anybody, it's too easy to say, not nobody. Who in your house is going to trigger an emotion in their mind? Oh my God, how'd you know? My son Johnny's been suffering from it for years. By the way, we're not going to cure anything. We've got to make sure that the technicians know that. They're still going to have asthma allergies, but we're going to get rid of the particles that generally the gases that's aggravating it. So to get to that 15%, 65% on that part of your business, it has to be built into the culture of the business. You have to hold your guys accountable, practice with them, training with somebody like our team. We've got 9 guys out in the field that come on site with WebEx training and online training as well. So get them comfortable with it and then get to the transition statements. Guys, they don't, unless if they have a scientist or an engineer who wants to talk about what's made out of it, yeah, we'll help them with that too. They can call us or they can remember it and talk about it. But most people, what they're really into is what's in it for me? How are you going to help me? How are you going to help save me money? How are you going to help my health? And so that's what it's all about to get to that level.
Awesome. Well, I hear kind of, both of you guys are saying a little bit of the same thing. And I see words or hear words like product. So when it's water quality, when it's indoor air quality, you want to make sure that it works. Do your research on it. And research is not by just looking at marketing materials. What are marketing materials from a manufacturer going to tell you? It's the best product out there.
Ours is too.
But research it. Look up the technologies. Look up the engineering behind it. Make sure that when somebody tests a product and promotes that test, ask yourself, how did they do the test? Do you think that you can manipulate tests to get the results that you want? Be careful with that. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors that's out there today. That creates confusion, and a confused mind doesn't make a decision. Right? So we want to have clarity on that. So to me, there's product or products. If you're really going to help with all phases of contamination or different aspects of water quality, then you got to have the right process in place. And the right process in place is not just having a vendor come out and train, because what happens in 2 weeks? Sales go down. So what are you doing as a follow-up? Because we hear that from contractors all the time. You guys were just here, sales were great for a few days, now our sales suck. What are you doing after that? That's when we ask questions like, how many times have you role-played with your team since we left? Oh, well, we've been busy, we haven't had any morning meetings. Are you running contests? We talked about accountability yesterday. How many use goal boards and update them every single day for your team? It's important. How do they know what their goals are if you don't share them with them? You've got to have the process down so they know what you expect of them so that they can deliver the results on that. So there's lots of parts of the process we want to get in place. And then there's the practice, and that's the training itself. So do we just train one time and we've created the perfect employee? No, not even close. It has to be done over and over and over again. And I know we hear that all the time. Oh, you guys just came out and did some training. I don't need that right now. Do you just train on lead turnovers once and that's it? What about maintenance plans? Do you bring it up in a morning meeting and then never bring it up for the rest of the year? If you want to have a focus on water quality, if you want to have a focus on indoor air quality, you should train on it weekly. There should always be a touch so that everybody, again, knows what the company goals are. And then part of that is practice for everybody. So by everybody, are you doing training for outbound callers? They get left out a lot. And they feel bad. You know, a lot of times they're not being rewarded for some of the things that they can do. But is there any reason that outbound callers, when they're scheduling future maintenance plans or service opportunities, where they shouldn't be able to talk about indoor air quality, make a warm conversation with the homeowner, or water quality? What about your sales team? What about your technicians? What about your installers? It's got to be a company culture as part of it. And that all comes with specific practice and training for all those different groups. So a lot of key stuff to kind of focus on as you go through there, but I'd like to open it up to you for any questions that you have for Steve and Casey, the kind of the gurus of the air and the waters.
There's presence involved. Yes, sir.
So on the air side in particular, if we were to take all of your package to make this air system as wonderful as possible, on wholesale levels, it's a $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 cost to us before we install it, or is it, right, where are we at in that part?
Our cost of our product? We teach the selling packages, so we have an IEP package, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. 4,000 is got the bypass step, it's got the polarized new air cleaner, both UV lights, one for germs, one for gases. That costs you, John, would really add that up for me.
Probably about $1,000 contractor cost on that.
Yeah, and then that's going in for about $4,200. The next level, we take the HEPA out, and we just have polarized unit with the 2 lamps. And it is
About $500.
$500. So you sell that for about $1,500. Now that's got, there's units out there that are $500 just to one phase of contamination. $500, you do all 3. And as you can explain that to the homeowner as well. And as we go down in packages, we just take one of the products out. But when you get to the first and second packages on the bottom, you're also eliminating, removing a phase of contamination. So when you talk to the homeowners about the 3 phases of contamination, one of the questions we have the technicians ask is, now that you know about these, which ones do you want to keep and which ones do you want us to help get out? They're all going to say, I don't want to keep any of those. Get them all out of my house. At least 2 here. But sometimes it's a budget thing. So then we'll take the light out that gets rid of the toxins and just have UV light with the polarized air cleaner. And now you're into $300 and that's sold for about $1,000. It's just a polarized air cleaner, which is the best way to get particles out of here and keep the system clean. You know, it's $220 to you guys in a year's supply media, and it's sold for about $700. So that's how you get your margins in there as well.
And the beauty of that is that there's also a replacement on there down the road. Right? A lot of indoor air quality products, you don't just put them in once and they're done forever. Anybody who says that you can put this in, you never have to maintain it, I would, again, do your research on that. So there's, you know, for good air cleaners, there's media that need to be replaced, there's ultraviolet systems that need to be replaced to give it intervals, Casey, I'm sure on the water side as well.
So we have, you know, we sell razor blades too, the ROs, you got cartridges, it's part of the service plan, get you back in the house every year to change out the sediment, the pre and the post carbon, which you have on all our rows. The membrane, we make them as a manufacturer, the prices come way down. We just recommend you change the membrane every year. You know, you can probably get 3 years on that. So get you back in the house, UV lights, just like in indoor air, have to be changed out annually. So when you build a package, like Steve said, we believe in the working water and drinking water. We have a very unique product for city water that has a whole catalytic carbon and we have stainless steel connectors that connect it over to another tank with resin. We call it our HTO for hardest states in order. It's what I have in my house. And it's basically for city water. It's a great product because it's one quick, easy in and out. Takes all the chemicals, all the taste and odor out first, and then it takes out the hardness. And price on that, you know, varies on whether it's a 1 cubic foot or 1.5 or 2 cubic. It depends on the size of the home. But you know, you can start out at probably $900 from a wholesaler to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, taking out all the chemicals and the hardness. And it's so then we add on to the package from there.
Great. Well, guys, we're going to be over here today. If anybody has any other questions on that, I think we're blowing the schedule here. So I see that he's just ready to give us the hook off the stage. So we really appreciate the opportunity to be here with everybody over the last couple of days, and we look forward to answering any questions for you. Let's give it up for Steve and Casey.